ለመማር ወደ ትምህርት ተቋም መሄድ ግድ አይደለም።
ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ
ራሳችሁን ከኮሮና ቫይረስ ወረርሽኝ እየጠበቃችሁ በቤታችሁ ወይም በተመቻችሁ ቦታ
በኢንተርኔት አማካኝነት በኦንላይን ትምህርታችሁን መከታተል ይቻላል።
ካናዳ ከሚገኘው ኢንተርናሽናል ኤር ትራንስፖርት አሶሲዬሽን አያታና
ከእንግሊዙ ኢንስቲትዩት ኦፍ ኮመርሻል ማኔጅመንት ICM ጋር በመተባበር የሚሰጡ ትምህርቶችን ተከታትላችሁ በ6 ወር ጊዜ በዓለም አቀፍ ደረጃ ተቀባይነት ያለውን የስልጠና ማስረጃ ባለቤት መሆን ይቻላል።
ከኢትዮጵያ ሲቪል አቪዬሽን ባለስልጣን ሙሉ ዕውቅና ባገኘንባቸው የፍላይት ኦፕሬሽን እና የሆስተስ ስልጠናም በምዝገባ ላይ ነን።
ጥያቄና መልስ፣ የክፍል ስራዎች ብሎም ፈተና መፈተን ክፍል ውስጥ እንዳላችሁ አይነት
ልምድ ባላቸው መምህራን እየተማራችሁ
በኦንላይን ባላችሁበት ቦታ
አድራሻ ከ22 ማዞሪያ ወደ ሾላ ገበያ በሚወስደው መንገድ 150 ሜትር ገባ ብሎ ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ
የናሽናል ኤርዌይስ እህት ኩባንያ
ህልሞን እውን ያደርጋል።
Hello, good evening. I don't know whether you can hear me.
Good evening, Doctor.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening to you, and I'm happy.
Good evening, Doctor.
How are you guys?
Good evening, Doctor.
Good, thank you.
Very nice. Also fine here. We are only feeling too much cold. We stay in a colder region of our country, and this is a difficult season for people who don't like cold like me. However, there are a few things that I wanted to ask you guys. We have one last topic which we hope to discuss today and Friday. Today, I want us to consider a very interesting or simple aspect where I would like to connect the what we call the corporate strategy and the marketing strategy or marketing program. The big reason being that we want to really, when we go to implementation, there will be things that will bother us if we have not connected ourselves between the corporate strategy and the functional area management called marketing function strategies. So my thinking probably today is to not to stress ourselves too much, but just to think together. How do we go about connecting strategies of at the corporate level and those of our marketing function? I'm aware that some of you are in different departments in your own organizations, but how, for example, would we have a strategy in human resource department affecting marketing? How would we have strategies in finance department affecting us in marketing? So much so that when we think about the marketing strategy, we want to tap the resources of different departments moving forward. So that when it comes to implementation, we will not be struggling about how do we acquire a certain resource. For example, if you were to say that we wanted to recruit 5 more people in our sales force, would it be a problem? Okay. If we wanted to say that we needed some resources, financial resources particularly, to be able to pursue certain publicity strategy in terms of promotion, issues to do with the advertisement, would it be a problem if you in the marketing department ask? Okay, so those are the questions that we really want to ask ourselves, because in the previous classes we went through the stages of formulating the strategies for the different programs, and I'm very happy that the documents that I've seen you guys send to my email are very interesting. Some of the things are even new to myself. Maybe it's unique to the context of Ethiopia or in Addis, but there are things that I want to say were well thought about, and there are things that should be implemented kind of or thought about by people of your caliber. The questions that we would like to answer then today is, if we were to implement strategies that we have designed, the ones we have formulated for the marketing function, then how would we then be able to get the support of other functions? So I'd like us to take a little recap and ask, and as we discuss this, I would want to encourage ourselves to maybe write down, I don't know if they're able to write down the vision and the mission of your own different companies or organizations that you work for, or any that you are connected with in one way or another. Because my intention today is to be able to see, for example, if we looked at the vision statement of McDonald's, that is a food chain in the US and branded, have been franchised across the world. What is their vision? What about their mission? Going down to picking issues relating to marketing. So if, for example, we are working in a company like the Commercial Bank of Ethiopia, for example, does the thinking of the board of directors, top management, mid-level managers of the different departments or functions of management, like HR, like finance, as we say, production, and stuff like that, would their thinking impact the implementation of the Okay. So think about those as we go along. So I would like to begin our discussion by sharing a little explanation about what I've just said. So we're still looking at execution of the management marketing management function strategy, as indicated there. But quickly, this is what I had wanted us to look at critically. And we are doing this while keeping in our minds that we are members of organizations in our different ways. Some of us are managers at the top, others are managers at the mid-level, others amongst ourselves could be front office, or should we say, front office managers, people who deal with clients. So in a very simple way, and this is something that we have discussed in one way or another in the course of this class. So we want to say that the strategies that we will formulate for the marketing function must, in fact, I would like to use that word must, guys who are still coming in, okay, so must be able to align with the corporate strategy. In fact, I would like to borrow some word that one of you used before when you said that it is important to have the corporate business foundations, and here we are talking about the mission and the vision, supporting directly or aligning directly with the objectives of the marketing department, and therefore the strategies and tactics in that marketing function. So we want to say that corporate, at the top there, we have the corporate objectives and strategy. So we must at all times use the corporate objectives and strategy to inform the direction in the marketing function. If it is not in line, we will probably run into difficulties relating to when you request for resources, you will find yourself running into huge difficulties because the other functions of management are not in support. So in that case, then we want to say that you must then consider the critical department, the critical aspect of corporate strategy. Okay, so when we are discussing this, I would like you to keep in your mind that at the top there, we have the vision statement and the mission statement. And then using those, we generate what we call the corporate objectives and strategy. So when we are developing our marketing strategies, we must make sure that we align with that. And if you remember, we also said that it is possible that you have what we call business level objectives, which could be addressing different business units in the company. For example, if it is a bank, you may have one area looking at SME as a business unit, some looking at lending to corporations, others looking at deposits. If it is in a business dealing, a corporation dealing with products, you may have one business unit, say, looking at one product or a region, depending on how you want to partition or segment your company operations. So from the corporate objectives or strategies, we then have to generate specific business unit or business level objectives and strategies. Then we also agreed again in our discussion that we have to conduct a deep marketing opportunity analysis. Here, we want to look at aspects to do with the environment, so the market environment generally, with the idea of understanding our competition. That means the competitors in the market who deal with goods which can be substituted with your own, the ones which can be complemented with your own products, or the products that compete one-to-one directly because they are being used in a similar way. So in that case, then you must get a lot of information from the market so that you are able to develop trends and be able then to know how to forecast into the future. We also agreed in the marketing opportunity analysis, which we had a discussion last time, that you must also understand the dynamics in or inside your own industry. If it is the banking sector, for example, how is the competition there? How do you want to look at the issues relating to the industry so that you can understand the dynamics there? Is it moving in what direction? How fast is this industry growing? What is the competition, both within the country, from the region, and even internationally? Then, if you remember also, and I want to emphasize that we need to understand the customer properly. Here we are talking about the consumer, that means the end user of the product or service. So here we are looking at issues to do with segmentation, targeting, and positioning decisions. This one I don't want to overemphasize because we have discussed this a lot. The Stp model is what I'm referring to. And I want to say that while you are looking at this, Philip Kotler says that you must look at the corporate strategy, the business level objective strategy, objectives and strategy, and the market opportunity analysis with a proper understanding of the external environment. So here you are looking at the opportunities that are open to the company. You want to look at the threats that can challenge the company. You need to look at other aspects in the socio-cultural world, political, and all aspects relating to including globalization that may affect the way your cooperation is. Then immediately you are able to sort all those out. Then you need then to formulate strategies that are meant or specific to a market context. Remember that when you talk about a market context is the situation that you find yourself in. So when you conduct your STP, that is the segmentation, targeting, and positioning strategies, then you would have identified a specific market segment that you want to target your products, to position your company or your corporation together with the product that you are dealing with as a company. So in this case, you have 3 unique strategies. Hopefully, we were able to pick in our discussions last time. Strategies for new markets. So we have to find what we call market penetration strategies, because the market we are going into is new. We also want to address unique strategies that are, or rather those that address growing markets. We very well know that in this situation of the COVID-19 situation, there are markets, there are growing markets of certain products or services that we may want to look at. So again, you may want to develop specific strategies for a market that is expanding or growing, either in terms of an increased use of a certain product or service, or you have a market that is not completely tapped. So you are opening new markets using the same product differentiation and stuff like that. We also have, and this is very special, I would like us to think about this later on when we have a small activity that I would like us to have. Strategies meant for a mature market, a market that is congested. In strategic management, we refer to this kind of market as the red ocean, where you have all sorts of things where people are copying, imitating product. There is undercutting in terms of prices and things like those. So if then we are able to formulate strategies of that kind, okay, the strategies that address new market to enter into, strategies that are meant for a growing market, strategies also that are meant for a mature or a declining market, because arising from competition, there is a lot of saturation in the market. So people begin to have a situation where there is a lot of imitations, cheap products are in the market. There are also what we call pirated products are in the market or services, all sorts of things. So how do you operate in such market? So you need then to formulate strategies that address issues of saturation. Then implementation and control is what we are focusing on from today moving forward. So here we want to look at how then do we take these strategies that we have formulated above for new markets, growth markets, mature and declining markets. How do we execute them? How do we convert? Because if you look at formulation of strategies, you are at what we call planning, more or less stage. So how do you move this planning into action? Okay. So most of the time, for some of you are familiar with aspects in project management, implementation is the big thing, because you are turning your plans into action. You begin seeing the reality of those particular plans. So if your strategies were formulated very well, then implementation would be easy. If they were done badly, there is a big chance that you will be staring on the face of failure. Okay. We normally argue that planning is sometimes more important than implementation. Of course, this is ambivalent. Some people still believe that implementation is critical. But when it comes to implementation, you are simply picking strategies in the plan, in the programs that you would have developed, and you are just putting them into action. But as you do that, you just do not go ahead and execute without developing what we call monitoring and evaluation strategies, or rather activities that will enable you to track progress. While tracking, you may discover issues that are related to the plan which were not done properly. So you may want to then take what you call control, more or less. Arising from the feedback of implementation, you can take corrective action. That's what I wanted to say. So when you look at implementation, it is converting the plan into the reality or action. When it comes to control, it carries certain aspects. That is why in our plans, we normally have a section that we call where we generate, for example, what we call indicators, which we use to measure fulfillment or success of certain activities. So in that case, then we want to say implementation is taking the action, executing the plan or bring the action into the plan into action. So we are presuming that in the earlier stages, and I think you did very well when you were preparing your strategy, your marketing plan. Then at this stage of implementation, that is why it comes towards the tail end of the discussion of this class, that we want to have a situation where we are providing resources, providing what is required to be able to execute the plan. Okay. So I will come back to this, but I have a little activity that I wanted. We will not be grading, but I would like us to discuss so that we can bring this into the reality of our own companies and organizations that we work for. Now, coming to this, coming to this discussion, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say that marketing strategy should be done in a manner that is cascaded, or that let me to admit somebody there, okay, that must respect the corporate level and business strategy. That's what we want to say. So the marketing program for a product, a specific product or a specific service, because remember, we are not marketing products per se. We want to be able to consider preparing a marketing program or a marketing strategy for a specific product, but in unique market segment. So we want to say that these programs must be consistent with the direction and competitive thrust and resource allocations. That, of course, is supported by the mother organization or the parent organization. So to be able to do this, and this is, I want to go slowly on that. If you want to ask your top management to support you, the marketing manager, in a bank, in a multinational, in a mobile phone providing company, to execute certain promotion strategies. Let's talk about an advertisement, designing it, testing it, and then paying for the continued playing on a TV station or in a radio station, or even creating what we call a product catalog or something like that. It costs money. So you need the function called finance and budgeting to allocate you the resource and go ahead and provide. So if on one hand, the strategies in the finance department is different from the one that you are crafting for the marketing function, then you have a serious problem. So in that case, then we want to just look at this in a simple way. The corporate vision statement, what does it say? Does it support your thinking in marketing in one way or another? Remember, the corporate vision is normally what we envisage to be or to be able to handle in the far future. Where do we want to be? Then the next thing, and this is where we've done some little emphasis, is that we need to also look at what we call the corporate mission statement. So at the corporate level, what is the mission? So in French, I don't know how it is said, but what is the reason for the existence of the company? So that statement is more qualitative and more philosophical. Some of them are even inspiring. Some of them are customer-oriented and stuff like that. The bottom line is, when we go and look at the functional area objectives, then we must be able to look at those statements, the vision, the mission clearly. Then once that is understood, we must then be able to appreciate the fact that we also have what we call the corporate objectives, which are at a higher level than the functional area objectives. So there will be objectives which are specific to the company at large. So as the marketing manager, you will need to contribute in one way or another to the corporate, or what we call business objectives. So the corporate or business objectives then must be quantifiable. It should be possible to measure. If, for example, we say we would like to increase our growth by 10%, we should be able to say how much, by how much, so that the marketing manager would be able to answer it and say, to be able to achieve a 10% growth in the business, we need to sell a certain specific unit of output per year. Or yes, if you talk about a year. So at the end of the year, then you must be able then to have increased the quantity of products that you have sold in markets, so that you help achieve not only the functional area objective, that is the marketing management objective, but also to be able to address the business objective. So we're saying it must be quantifiable, but above all, it must be able to operationalize the corporate mission. Okay. And finally, in that chart, and this is important, we will need to also be able to develop our marketing objectives clearly. Luckily, we've done this before. So within that, we should be able to be addressing the specific objectives that revolve around our functional area. Our interest here is marketing. Of course, the HR function will be doing their own objectives, which are consistent with the corporate vision, mission, and objectives. Finance department or the function will be doing the same, production will be doing the same. But we want to emphasize, and that is why I've put it in italics, they must be specific and measurable. In other words, the functional area objectives, our marketing objectives, must be more specific and measurable than if you are to compare with the ones at the corporate level. Okay. So please take that. I hope that is understood. If you have a question, we should be able to address. Now, there are some points that I would like us to share also. This one, I alluded to it earlier when we said that the success or failure of a strategy at any level depends on how best it fits in the realities of the business environment. This one we don't want to overemphasize. We've discussed that a lot. That when you are developing the objectives, the strategies, they must be able to fit in the business environment. Secondly, I want to say that we need then, and this one we've said again, to conduct a thorough understanding of the environment. So we did before SWOT analysis, best analysis, there's 5C, amongst others, so that we are able to understand the business environment. For us in marketing, we should be worried a lot about a deep understanding of the market, industry and competition. We also want to think about the customer analysis. We've said that. We also need to look at other aspects so that we are able to develop is there a problem with my sound? Let me see, sorry.
No problem.
Is it clear?
Yes, it's clear.
For some, it's clear. For some, there is problem.
There's a problem.
Yeah, some areas there is network problem, so sound couldn't reach them.
Okay. Then problem is with the network, not mine, is it? Because I'm seeing someone is saying.
Me, yes.
I'm sorry about that. We hope, but you can follow the discussion if you can. But I hear you so clearly.
Doctor, on your side, it's very clear.
Thank you very much. Okay. Sorry about that. I hope you'll be able to sort it out. We wanted to say that. Sorry. I hope I'm not running too fast. Okay. So of course we're saying we need to look at your strategy so well. In fact, the primary purpose of any marketing strategy is to facilitate. You allow me to do an highlighter. Is to be able to facilitate and encourage exchange, therefore transaction with potential customers. That's the whole idea, because we want to serve our customers. So we need to understand the motivations and behaviors of the present and potential customers. I hope you are able to know that we have two sets of customers. We have those that we are currently serving, then we have those that we are yet to serve, but we can easily convert them, those individuals in the market, to become our own customers. Customers are those already who are engaging in transactions with us. So I hope that is understood. Please remember that. Okay, so in the next slide, we want to look at we want to emphasize issues to do with implementation and control, which we have already done so earlier. But we are saying it is a critical determinant of the strategy's success. I want to ask at this stage, and feel free to unmute yourself just for discussion's sake. If you read that statement, we are talking about implementation and control is a critical determinant of a strategy's success. The question I want to ask, do you think that formulation of the strategy is more important than implementation and control, or the other way around? I would like to hear your views about that. So if you can just unmute yourself and share your point of view. Anyone? Yes, get at you, please, Adunya.
Yes, both are equally important, Doctor. So
Yes.
no one, either of the two is not lesson. At different steps, both of them are equally important. Over to you.
Thank you. So Getachew thinks that both are important. Would we have somebody with a different point of view? Is planning important or the implementation? Which is which? It's like the story of the chicken and the hen, but Can I hear
Hello.
another comment?
Solomon.
Yes, Solomon.
Yeah. Any good planning is without implementation there is no success. Any plan without implementation it is not success. So any full of fault plan with implementation is greater than a good plan without implementation. You have to start implementation. At implementation time, the control is good. You have to guide within a plan. What is our success? What is our vision? Our mission? So the plan is guiding for the guide one. So without implementation, plan is unnecessary. So the plan is for the guide to guide the roads, how to go away to get our visions and missions.
Let's hear from yes. Let's listen from. No, just continue. Yes.
For that implementation, the overall the plan we have to break down, or we have to cascade into action plan. You know, within a time, within a budget. So within a time and within a budget, it needs what control, budget control, time control. So they are the critical determinant of the strategy to be successful. That is right. I say that. Thank you.
I like your thinking. Thank you, Solomon. But there's one question as we ask Gutu, and let's listen to Gutu, and then we go to Tespakiros. Gutu, please.
Oh, thank you. Mine is implementation is more important than the plan, because for example, if we take, can you hear me, Doc?
Yes, very clearly. In fact, I'm writing your notes.
Okay, thank you. If we take as an example, in our country, there is a lot of business which have no strategy formulated, but they implement their ideas in the air and become successful. That's most of the, I hope there is more than 80% of our businesses run like this. So they are successful, they are doing good. But there are some people who are educated and they study about the business and they have the best formulated strategy, but couldn't implement it, and they are not successful, in my view, till they get that strategy. So the implementation is more useful than the plan, I think. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question for you, Gutu, as we are bringing in Tespakiros. Supposing the plan is faulty, if the plan was done poorly and the implementation is done very well, what happens? Bekele, you wanted to say something, but let's listen to...
I have a question, Doctor.
Yes,
for good. Yes. May I raise my question?
Yes, please.
I think what we implement is our plan, whether it's written or not. What Gutu is telling us, I understand from Gutu's side, is our most of our local entrepreneurs that don't have plan. Maybe they don't have their plan written properly, but they have a plan. In their mind, they have something, they have set some goals, so they run for that. That means whatever we have, there is a plan. Don't you think, Gutu? This is my question, sir.
Okay, that's also interesting, but I want to throw you back another question, Bekele. Bekele, we normally have something in English, a saying that if you don't plan, you plan to fail. So,
Yes.
so how do you operate without a plan?
That's the question for Kutu and the others. What I mean is our business people, even if they don't write it in paper, they have a plan. So they are implementing their plans.
But don't you think that is the reason they are not growing very quickly? Because
no, they are, even those guys are better than those who wrote their plan on paper.
Okay. Let's just say they are very lucky.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Thank you. Tesfakiros, you had raised up your hand.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
Implementation matters, thinking to mind, implementation matters than the formulation one or even the planning one. Because when we come to implementation, we are thinking about the translation of the strategic thought. Or there is a thought, unless we couldn't bring it into practice, into existence, into implementation, that thought will be potential value. This potential value need to be practiced, bring into existence or into life. That's why lack of practicability is the most important factor in everything, in every kind of our life too. There are many knowledgeable, we might have even, there are too much knowledge, we might have too much information, unless we couldn't bring it into existence, unless we couldn't be wise of that ideology, we cannot go on. Therefore, implementation matters too much. Implementation and control are the most, as you have said already, the critical determinants of strategy success. Thinking to mind seems like this one. We can also see other factors. Even the corporate strategy will be bring into life or existence by others. Functional strategy, just like marketing strategy. Marketing
thank you.
I'm sorry. Follow up.
Yes.
What, doctor? What do you
Yes.
control for the Tasfakros? What do you execute? What do you control if you don't have any plan?
That's the question.
Okay.
That's the good question for everybody, because now, as you're saying, we must have a plan to be able to execute. Mohammed, you have something, but before you do that, let's talk to Tefera. Tefera.
Can I add something, Doctor? Okay.
Yes, please.
Just for example, if you say there are business strategies, there are also functional strategies. This marketing strategy is one of the functional strategies. It's all about implementing. After having a thought of the corporate strategy and some kind of marketing strategies which could support or which could support the corporate one, will bring it into existence by the day-to-day activities which need to be support, which should need support the corporate one. Therefore, the corporate thought is always supported by the functional strategies. Therefore, the functional strategies are parts of the controlling system, even you can say so, parts of the, because they are short-term strategies. But the corporate one is a long-term strategy. But this marketing strategy, short-term strategies are day-to-day, just like sales plan activities and other information collection, communicating a customer, advocating customer, prospecting, selecting. Such kind of, these are implementing strategies. I wind up. Thank you very much.
Okay. Mohammed, finally, let's listen to you and then we continue.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Doctor. I think the point that you have raised for discussion are very, very important and essential topics. And for me, I believe that personally and as a country, as a community, we are suffering from the culture of lack of design thinking.
as an individual, if you ask in this class, you may not find more than 10 or 5% who design their life to reach where they are today. It's very difficult. Even in our family, we are not planning. As a country, we are not planning for long. For example, if you see in Addis, you may find a road which has been established or built very expensive money, but it will be destroyed after a couple of months, or like changing the idea. For example, in my near office, I remember I was very sad to see that there was a road established built by the government, but without being used for 8 or 9 months, it was destroyed for railway transport, for a rail transport. So it shows that as a country we are lacking a proper plan, proper idea about plan. So I think we need to plan personally as a country, as an institution. For the implementation, for me, it's a matter of a natural flow of life. Even if we didn't plan, we have to implement something. We have to do something. In our office, we have to do something. So naturally, we will do something. We cannot sit down. We cannot do something. So planning is very important. If we are doing something, naturally, we have to do it by plan. So I believe that planning is very important. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. I think we may not agree about what Tefera, just for a minute, tell us something, and then we can move on.
Okay. In my opinion, planning is more important. I mean, implementation is more important than planning, because I see most organizations have idea, not a ground to put these plans. For me, planning is like saying is more important than saying for me. So planning can be made through external bodies, but implementation is always happen internal. So there will be resistance to change that come from influence and other stakeholders. So implementation is the most difficult for me.
Thank you very much. Let's close the discussion and then we move on. We'll come back again and create another opportunity to discuss. But from where I stand, I think planning is critical because one is that it gives us a proper understanding, because whenever you plan, you have to take into consideration many aspects like understanding competition, the environment, all those things, so that when you are planning, you know that things will be fitting into the chessboard. So to me, if you were to plan properly, even if you had a weaker kind of then it helps us a lot in trying to understand what could have gone wrong when we do control and stuff like that. But the plan must be very good. The plan, somebody said, can be in somebody's mind, but you must be very good to remember all the aspects of the plan. But it is possible that it can be in your mind. Now, just quickly, and having emphasized that, we want to say that the ability of a firm to implement it effectively and efficiently is very important also. So apart from doing the plan properly, we also need to look at the ability of that company or firm to be able to implement the plan. Because the plan must be implemented in a way which is efficient, which is very effective, so that we can optimize resources and we are able to deliver what we want to achieve. So the strategy should be consistent with the firm's resources. Remember, the resources that companies have are limited. So we may not have all the money, all the human resource, all the equipment, all processes in place, but we must be able to understand our company in terms of the capacities and things like those. So it must be consistent with the resources. You cannot say, for example, you want to sell, make a sale in so far distant places, because you need to look at the efficiency of the using of the resources. Also, we want to say that during implementation, you must also look at the structure. So organizational structure becomes critical, as well as control systems. So this is important. We want to say that to be able to implement, you need good resources, a good structure, good control systems, and above all, you must have a good capacity in terms of the skill sets that are available for you to be able to achieve that. These are the human resource elements. Now, let's look at certain things within the implementation matrix. Spakiros is raising up your hand.
Okay, Doctor, yeah, I don't have a question regarding to the planning and implementation, because we do have, for example, in national-wise, we do have a grand transformation plan. Yeah, GTP, we call it. Yeah, or you might even have in your own country. This GTP has been started almost before 15 or 10 years in our country. To my thinking, there are, of course, organizations. For example, our organization is corporate. Our organization mean Commercial Bank of Ethiopia's corporate strategy is deducted from that one. It has taken some kind of, for example, at 2020 and at 2025, it will be a world-class commercial bank. Why is that? Because the country has a plan to be a middle-income country. In 2025, the country's at 2025, the country will be a middle-income country, says the GTP plan. Thinking to mind, we do have a plan. We do have a great plan. However, this plan could not be bring into existence. This was my first thought when I was responding to your question. If you could clarify me some kind of ideas in this case, I'd be okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let's move on and say what marketing planning is all about. So I think the issues that you have raised is critical. I see some two hands up, but let's make some progress, and then we create an opportunity to interact also in a few minutes. So let's get back to looking at this important aspect of implementation of the plan. And we are saying that the marketing strategy implementation is the process. I was trying to look for another word instead of using the word execute, and I could not find. So Moges, not Moses. Moges, is there something you want to say? No?
Yes, Doctor. I just want to add my thoughts regarding planning and implementation. All right. Personally, I believe both are equally important, but through experience, we have experienced so many things regarding implementation. In most companies, they have structured plan, which means in paper, but toward this execution, they lack many times. But my thought is planning is a roadmap to implementation. So it's very critical because it shows us our direction to execute the strategic implementation. But most of the time, if the planning is unrealistic, it will suffer us during implementation. So if we have structured, realistic planning towards our goal, we'll be able to have a better implementation mode. Thank you so much.
That I agree totally. Thank you, Muges. I think we are agreeing kind of that planning is important. The plan, if it is done properly, considering all the aspects that we are supposed to consider, then you have a good plan, and therefore implementation will be easier. We are not saying implementation is less important, but we are saying it will be more convenient and easier to be able to implement a good plan. Now, I wanted to explain rather when we talk about implementation of a marketing strategy or a marketing plan, what do we mean? And just to repeat, we are saying that marketing strategy implementation is the process of executing a marketing strategy. So the strategies that we have developed in the plan is what we want to execute, or rather take into action by creating and performing specific actions. So here it is about performing the actions that we would have realized in the plan to ensure that we achieve the marketing objective. So remember, in the beginning, we talked about designing or developing market objectives or marketing objectives. Then for each of those marketing objectives, we developed what we call tactics or course of actions to be able to achieve each of them. So once we have this, then implementation is just the process of now taking those, into action those course of those tactics. So strategic planning without effective implementation can produce unintended consequences. In marketing, it's very common that sometimes you can plan properly, but when you execute your plan poorly, it may lead to consequences or situations that you may not have wanted. For example, you could have decided to develop a program to promote a certain product, but the manner in which you have implemented it may make your customers unhappy with it. So customers can be dissatisfied, although the plan was done properly, but the implementation was not done effectively. Okay, so sometimes it can lead to frustrations even within the firm itself, in terms of the employees in the marketing function feeling bad and frustrated, and they may not be able to deliver properly. So likewise, poor implementation will most likely result in the firm's failure to reach its organizational and marketing objectives. That is just for emphasis. But there are certain issues then that we must address. There are issues during implementation that we must look at. These issues, I've tried to pick them from one textbook. I believe if I was to read in another one, maybe they are going to add a few more. So this is what we've been discussing all along. There is a very important link between the plan and execution. This one we don't want to overemphasize, because we're saying that what you've planned is what we are only converting it into action. So we are taking action. We're saying we are planning to do this. So basically, during implementation, you pick on the activities that you have suggested in the plan that you are going to do, and you do them. There is also an aspect here of trying to, apart from, when you are implementing, you are doing it using resources. I like the way, I think Mohammed raised it, or was it Tescafiro, that we need to do it in a manner that supports specific things. For example, we need to do it within time. This is a project management language. Within time, within the budget, and then of course within scope. And very importantly, we must do it with respecting the quality of the process itself. So again, we want to say that there is a very strong link, a very big connection between planning and implementation. That's what we want to say. Secondly, we want to say that implementation of the marketing plan has certain elements which we shall discuss. There are about 8 of them where I want to say the moment you see a marketing plan, marketing plan implementation, what are these things that we should be keeping in our mind? Once we understand these elements, then we can prepare a good implementation strategy also. Then we will also discuss the approaches to marketing implementation. I believe this one we should be able to do this on Friday. Then internal marketing and marketing implementation. This is interesting because there is no way you will execute a plan without the internal customers. Employees, for example, within the company. Sometimes you consider some special stakeholders who interact with us closely within the company as internal customers. So we must be able then to sell our marketing plan to them. They must believe in it. They must understand so that they are able to support. Of interest to me, we'll be discussing this a lot again on Friday, but the point is we need to have employees in other parts, apart from the marketing function, to understand that in the marketing department, we have this plan and this is how we are going to execute or implement. And these are the objectives. These are things that we intend to achieve eventually. Then, of course, evaluating and controlling marketing activities. This is something critical. We need to know, how do we measure our performance? How do we track progress in marketing? How do we take corrective action in marketing? So those are the aspects. Now, then moving on, there's a chart that I don't know whether I'm losing it or something. Yes, let's begin there. We want to look at the elements of the of marketing implementation. At the middle there is shared goals. This one, I tried to scan it out from a textbook. Looks like it didn't show properly. So at the middle there are shared goals. These shared goals connect with the rest directly. They integrate with the marketing strategy directly. It also tells us that it must be able to, the shared goals must be able to connect with the marketing structure. We'll go back to that. Together with leadership within the marketing function, as well as the people. You remember the people in our 7 Ps? But particularly we are addressing ourselves, the shared values, looking at the people in terms of the human resource element, and also, yes, powerfully the people that we must work with. Do they have the right skill set? Do they have the right kind of stamina? Do they have the right kind of motivation to be able to deliver that? Resources, obviously, is required to be able to achieve the implementation of the marketing plan, and then, of course, the systems that are required to be able to do that. Systems here, we refer to the processes that must happen within the marketing department. From the time that you contact a customer, convincing that customer to buy from you, delivering the good, or rather the product to the customer and stuff like that. So basically we have, are there 7 issues that when we are implementing, we must consider those elements. They are critical because the plan can only work when you have all those together and working seamlessly. Of course, if you realize, for example, in the chart, the marketing strategy also affects or is affected by systems. It's also affected by market structure. The market structure is affected by the marketing strategy and is also affected by leadership. the leadership is affected by people, and it's also affecting the marketing structure. The organization, marketing structure, we refer here to the organization structure within the marketing function. Resources affect systems, and it affects the people. So all these things are what we call, or the things that we refer to as the element. So let's look at them one at a time. Sorry, we have run too much behind. Yes, let's look at these issues one at a time, but before we can do that, there is something that we need to share so that when we come forward, we don't need to go back again. Now, some things that I try to scan out for ourselves that still, when we look at the strategic issues in marketing, marketing management, or marketing implementation, sorry, we have, let's admit, guys, I don't know, they went out of class, they want to come back now, okay. So there's a link between planning and implementation. That is what we said earlier. And the linkage is in terms of what we call interdependence, also in terms of evolution, and in terms of separation. Okay, so when you look at interdependence, as much as we want to have our marketing plan separate, it is not possible. There is always a connection, a relationship, one depending on the other. The implementation of the marketing strategy, for example, depends a lot on the plan. Actually, that is where we were trying to address ourselves to in our discussion earlier. So we're saying that the marketing plan determines how it will be implemented, how the plan will be implemented. But it's also true that how the marketing strategy is to be implemented determines the content of the marketing plan. This is ambivalent. It's not clearly explained there, but the point we want to make just in a nutshell is that both the plan and implementation require or need each other. Then when it comes to evolution, of course, some of you did biology. You remember the story of Darwin and guys like those who believed in evolution. But here we don't want to look at the history of certain things. What we want to say in this stage is how does the plan lead to implementation? Okay, so there we're saying that because planning and implementation are intertwined, as we had agreed earlier in the interdependence, both must constantly evolve to fit each other. So the plan is not rigid. You don't prepare the plan and exactly implement it the way it is. You may prepare a plan now only for something to happen. Let's speak, for example, the situation that we find ourselves in. In normal university operations, like in the national aviation, it is expected that the professor, the lecturer, would come to class, sit with you and discuss. But because of the COVID-19 issue, which by last year we did not know we were going to find ourselves in a situation like this, then we had to adjust the way we are implementing delivery of curriculum. So in the same way, something can happen in your enterprise, that you plan to sell certain commodities in a certain way, and then suddenly, boom, this thing comes up. That will not allow you to move from one point to the other. So what do you do? Okay, so the issue that I'm trying to raise at this stage is the fact that the plan will continue changing up to the last time that you implement. Until you complete it, you always must allow for what you call flexibility. Similarly, similarly, if there are changes during implementation which are thought out properly and which are not consistent with the plan, then it will force you to amend the plan backwards. Or if you had prepared a plan and you find that the execution is not being done properly, then you can amend it. So what we are trying to say is that it is always important for you to keep in your mind that both the planning and execution evolve. They are not rigid. You cannot fix the plan, you cannot fix the implementation at a certain level. They must always play together. Okay? So, and then again, we are talking about something which is known as separation. There's one discussion that we had in this class in which we were talking about a possibility of top management making interesting decisions at the top without the mid-level managers being part and parcel of it or contributing. Yet those guys in the mid-level management or lower-level management are the ones handling the day-to-day execution. So what we want to say is that when planning, when you are preparing the plan, it is good to involve the people who will be implementing. You know, there's a lot of stories written there, but that is the bottom line. That all the time we need to have a situation where we have those engaged in those who will be engaged in implementation being required to participate in the planning, preparing the marketing strategy and marketing plan, preparing the marketing program. Okay, and that is why when I gave you the assignment the other time, I required you to use what we call design thinking, because design thinking considers the user. So the employees in the marketing structure, the organizational structure within the marketing function, is important for them to participate in the planning. Okay, so you read that and understand. There is a chart there, again, scanned out from a textbook that looked at certain aspects. The time that is spent in planning vis-a-vis or together with time spent in implementation. So if you look at the chief executive officer, for example, the CEO will spend more time in planning than in implementation. The mid-level managers have the 50-50%. 50% of their time in planning, 50% of their time in implementation. That's the mid-level marketing managers. But the frontline managers, the people, the salesmen, the sales representatives, the people who actually contact the customer and work with them every day, find themselves on the other side of the coin most of the time in implementation. But what we want to say at this stage, particularly in this class, is to emphasize the fact that it is important for us to pay attention to the frontline managers, marketing managers, the people who engage with the customer one-to-one, should also participate in the planning, because those are the guys who will execute the plan. So if they are not involved, because they know their responsibilities very well, they understand that very well because they do it regularly. By experience, they understand the behavior of the customer. By experience, they know what to do to make a customer buy. They know things that must be avoided so that you can encourage a customer, or to avoid, because if you were to do that, you are going to discourage a customer from buying a product or service. So in that case, as much as we want to say that they'll spend more time in implementation, but we want to say clearly that it is good for them to participate. And that is why I will always emphasize that it is important to use what we call design thinking. Let's look at the users of the plan. The people who will execute the plan are the frontline marketing managers, the sales representatives, the sales people, the sales representatives, people who engage directly with the customer. Although on the organizational structure, they may be at the lowest level, but it is critical for them to participate in one way or another. Maybe you can engage them in what you call group discussions, focus group discussions. You can do Delphi techniques. You can even ask them to suggest important things that they think should be incorporated in the plan. Then, of course, the mid-level managers and the top managers can think about them and see whether they can be implemented or not. I've emphasized that a lot because in most corporates, we normally dictate, executives like yourselves dictate to the lower cadre employees and tell them that you must sell, and this is how to sell. Okay. So I hope I'm making a point there. Then, of course, now we want to look at the elements as they were, just to emphasize the shared goals and values. This addresses mainly the aspects revolving around the organizational culture, more or less. What are these things that are common within the organization? Okay. Sorry, I'm beginning to get worried. There is something that I must run to in a few minutes. So today's class, the other time we prolonged it for quite some time. So today you will allow me to leave earlier. So I would like us to discuss these three, and then I will ask for permission to leave you. Then on Friday we can complete them, and then prepare an implementation strategy for marketing management. My little boy is celebrating his 11th birthday, so I'm seeing him calling me 1,000,001 times, and I'm still even in the office. If I don't go, maybe I'll find myself closed out of the house, so you'll forgive me if I ran away a bit early today. Okay, so shared values. Again, this is about the employees in the firm. It's about the management in the firm. How do they see customers? Do they value those customers, or they find them to be a bother? In marketing management, and indeed in even organizational management, we normally make a fundamental argument that customers are kings. Okay, kings are powerful, and whatever they ask, you must provide. So, if there is something which is very important for us to address in our organizations, is what we call culture. Okay? So, what are these things, the goals and values that we believe in as the unit? In fact, we normally argue and say that the shared goals and values, or the culture in the department or in the business, is the glue around which everything else presents. So shared values and goals among employees within a firm are the glue of successful implementation of the plan, because they bind the entire organization together as a single functional unit. So if we have goals and values that we share together, it will bring us closer together. And we should be able to address these things together. Okay. Somebody is raising a very interesting point on the chat that that customers are kings. But we'll see. Because I believe that is the situation. So although creating shared values and beliefs is a difficult process, very difficult, it takes a long time to have shared values in the organization, the rewards are worth the effort. So you need to build a very good culture within the functioning, the functional area of management, the marketing function, so that everyone believes in what you need them to believe in. So some experts have argued that creating shared goals and values is the single most important element of implementation. We've said that before. But why that is important is because it stimulates what we call commitment, where employees become more motivated to implement the marketing strategy. And of course, in the process, you are achieving the goals and objectives of the department. And of course, you'll be able to serve customers better. We had a trial today of a certain organization which was trying to move its delivery of goods and services to online platforms, because now, of course, you understand it's not possible for you to serve customers as usual. When we tried to move them to the platform in the past several days, then we acted as customers by dialing a number. And of course, because we were not able to change the culture of the people there to realize that customers are important, instead of the person at the reception picking the calls and addressing a customer appropriately, the language that was used, for lack of a better word, was too pedestrian. The customer may not feel valued. Even when you are giving the correct information, there is a way in which you must say things to make the customer happy and valued. And therefore, there is a possibility that you are going to motivate some kind of sell. Okay? So the culture within that organization is what we were thinking late in the afternoon of how to look at it again. Because when you call someplace and instead of somebody picking the call and thanking the customer for even calling in the first place, the response was in a way that makes the customer feel that you are a bother. You are calling and that person is not happy to talk to you. The problem is not with the employees, it is the culture that has been there. There are cases even within the same company that you call in a different branch and the person picking the call is a security man who is never trained at all to be able to talk to customers. So culture in terms of what you call shared value and culture and shared values and goals within the company, the functional area of management is critical. I want to say this, that if you talk about shared goals and beliefs, you are more or less want to translate the workforce in the department called marketing into a team, not a lone ranger kind of thinking where you are different from the rest. You need everyone to believe that just like in a game of soccer, that one person is the team leader. Sorry, there's only one guy who takes care of the goal. There will be two guys doing defense. There will be guys in the midfield. There will be guys in the striking force and stuff like that. But everybody has a specific role and all of them have only one aim, to score a goal and win. Okay? So the team that operates together closely will eventually succeed. And that is why we want to emphasize a lot and talk about you must have shared goals and values. That's the first element in the implementation matrix of marketing strategy. Then the structure. Okay, the structure is everything, because then you need to design a structure which is responsive to the implementation per se. So we need to know in the department of marketing who is in charge, who is responsible for that function, who is the next in command. Are we going to have a situation where we have a flat structure, or are we going to have a kind of a pyramid structure? Are we going to have decentralized system, or are we going to have a centralized one? Those are the questions you want to ask, depending on the structure. For example, let's pick Ethiopia as a good example and say we want to serve the entire country. So you can have, for example, a manager. If you wanted to do it in a very efficient way, pick the overall sales manager stationed in Addis, being the central point. And then you have regional representatives in each of the different regions in Ethiopia. Then under those people, you may have salesmen serving sub-regions. So you can divide the regions into smaller markets that you want to serve, or even serve what you call the marketing segments per se. Okay? So depending on the nature of the marketing implementation that you want to execute, it will be important for you to always keep in mind that you need to design a good structure. So structure gives us how we deliver. It gives us some kind of, lacking the words, but specialization or division of labor. It gives us how to organize our team in a very effective way. So the marketing structure refers to the methods of organizing a firm's activities, a firm's marketing activities, sorry. It establishes formal lines of authority as well as division of labor, as we had said before, within the marketing function itself. Forget about other departments. We are looking at the marketing function alone. So you can decide if you want to have it being centralized or decentralized. Of course, when you have a very tall structure, there is a high chance that there could be some inefficiency, unless it is absolutely important that you have that kind of thing. But flatter structures are more efficient because communication is shorter. So if a salesman or a sales lady out there has some issue, that person can just call the marketing manager straight. It will be so easy. Okay. So typically, of course, we are talking about decentralization means that the frontline marketing managers have the responsibility of making day-to-day marketing decisions. So I have seen in situations where when you segment your market, you have the people responsible for those markets or a group of similar markets taking charge and making decisions on their own. Okay. Then having a little boy persistently calling, I will need to stop in a few minutes. So systems and processes are also important. We need to think about them very well. So within the organizational systems, how, for example, do you conclude a sale? Where does it start? Okay. So all the processes within that. Let me give you a simple example
Hello,
of a
doctor.
company.
Sorry for interrupting.
Yes, yes.
Take your time, doctor. No, you can stop by now. Let's stop by now.
Oh, you want us to stop now? Let me finish systems and then we close. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Morgan. So I want to say under systems, so that we can begin from the next element on Friday. I want to say that these are now systems of the activities that happen from the time that you engage a customer up to the time you conclude, including payments and things like this. Okay. So there are many examples, the information systems, structures, budgeting, all those things, but only within the marketing function. Ladies and gentlemen, I know it has been a long day. Forgive me, today we have to stop early. The reason being handling young people, they will feel bad that you are not attending their birthday parties. So allow me to go and appreciate him and congratulating him for being 11-year-old. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Let's meet on Friday and see whether we'll conclude or not. So thank you so much. We'll see you on Friday.
ልዩነት መፍጠር ዓላማችን ነው። ዓለም አቀፍ ተወዳዳሪ መሆን አለባችሁ። የናሽናል ኤርዌይስ እህት ኩባንያ ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ ጥራትና ደረጃውን የጠበቀ ስልጠና በመስጠት ብቁ ዜጋ እያፈራን ነው። በፍላይት ኦፕሬሽን፣ በበረራ መስተንግዶ፣ በቲኬቲንግና ሪዘርቬሽን፣ በሆቴልና ቱሪዝም ሙያዎች አሰልጥነን ተወዳዳሪ እናደርጉታለን። ኮሌጃችን ካናዳ ከሚገኘው ኢንተርናሽናል ኤር ትራንስፖርት አሶሲዬሽን አያታና ከእንግሊዙ ICM ጋር በመተባበር ዓለም አቀፍ ዕውቅና ያለው ስልጠና እየሰጠ ይገኛል። በፍላይት ኦፕሬሽን፣ በበረራ መስተንግዶ የምንሰጣቸው ስልጠና ከኢትዮጵያ ሲቪል አቪዬሽን ባለስልጣን ሙሉ ዕውቅና አለው። አድራሻ ከጎላጉል ታወር 22 አደባባይ ወደ ሾላ በሚወስደው መንገድ ላይ የናሽናል ኤርዌይስ እህት ኩባንያ ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ ህልሞን